What's up, you guys? It's me here, and we got to talk about exactly what's going on with none other than Bitcoin in this video here, because everyone's been sending me this video. What's funny is that I was probably one of the first people to watch this because I had notifications turned on YouTube. I spend way too much time of my day getting YouTube notifications, watching videos. I watch everything now in 3x speed. That's how you know it's gotten pretty bad. I watch a lot of YouTube. But anyway, I want to comment on this video from TechLead, why I sold all of my Bitcoin. It's over. And initially, I gotta say, I thought this video was the clickbaits, and what he's actually doing is like tax loss harvesting and then buying it back and getting a big realized loss and using that to offset gain. No. He actually sold. And as someone who's holding and who has held for a very long time, I want to comment on this as soon as you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already. It's all I ask for, and as a thank you for doing that, here's a picture of Satoshi Nakamoto. So thanks so much, and also big thank you to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this video, but more on that later.
I sold all my Bitcoin, and I suffered absolutely massive financial losses. If you told me a year ago I'd be saying this out loud on camera, I'd have laughed in your face. But that's why I've been gone.
The hard part with TechLead, for those that have not watched his content, he delivers jokes dead serious. Like, you would have no idea if he's kidding or if he's serious. Like, I can't tell if he's being sarcastic here, but like, listen, I know what's going on, I know the situation, it's real, but for a while, I'm watching this thinking, there's no way. There's no way TechLead is selling his Bitcoin. What does that mean for the rest of us? What hope do I have if TechLead sold all of his Bitcoin?
Bitcoin fell from 120K last October to the low 60Ks this summer, a 50% crash, and nothing can prepare you for what a move like this does to you mentally, especially when you're leveraged. Money, easy come, easy go. I was over leveraged. And as the price kept bleeding down with no bounce, no relief rally, I was staring down the barrel of liquidation. And so I had a choice: either sell, take the loss and survive, or hold, stand by my ideals and get wiped out. And so I sold. And then I went dark because I realized I had no idea what I was doing anymore.
That's the hardest part, by the way, about buying the dip, is that the market doesn't care that you buy the dip, because the market could keep dipping, and then you buy back in more, and it keeps dropping, and you buy back in more. And at a certain point, you're like, oh man, I'm just wrong. Usually, every time I get the feeling, that gut feeling of like, ah, crap, this is it, this is over, I'm an idiot, best to sell it all. From my experience, usually that's the time you gotta buy more. Never sell unless you usually need to sell or something fundamentally changed about the thing that you're investing in. If there is some fundamental change, consider it. But if it's just the price, if everything is the same, it's just the price is now less, you have to ask yourself, is it fear taking over, or am I just emotional about this? It's really important to keep that in check.
On my way down, I did see something I can't unsee. And if you understand this, it may save you the same pain I just went through. So in this video, I will explain exactly what I saw that unsettled my nerves so much. So here's what I had backwards the entire time. In an attention economy, you don't trade fundamentals, you trade attention, and that attention is liquidity. So let me make this simple. Think about NFTs. People paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for a JPEG. Everyone bought high, everyone held, no one sold, diamond hands. Right? But did that keep the price up? Well, no. NFTs collapsed anyways, and most are worth zero today, because price is not about how many people buy and hold. It's about whether a new buyer shows up tomorrow willing to pay more.
I'm just going to throw a prediction out there, okay? Let me predict something. This chart here, like we see with the Bored Ape Yacht Club, I bet is going to happen with these new Pokemon cards that are coming out. I think, the vintage cards of like the late 1990s, I think those are going to be relatively safe, long-term, safe is for a collectible. But all this new stuff coming out, all these new PSA 10, this and that, and they were printed like 2 years ago. Give me a break. There's so much hype going on in the Pokemon space right now. I could see this happening with Pokemon cards. Just saying, to me it seems a bit frothy. Makes no sense to me. NFTs made no sense to me either. When every single thing is limited edition, nothing is limited edition. Same thing with Pokemon cards. When everything is coming out, there's, oh, you find my dead. No. Vintage cards, I at least understand that. But we'll see if there's a crossover between the two. I could be wrong.
So the real problem is attention. You see, the difference with gold is gold doesn't need new attention. It's had 5,000 years of it baked into history, culture, family traditions. Well, companies don't need it either because companies manufacture attention regularly. They have a marketing department.
You know, here's the thing. This is exactly why it's so important to save as much money as you can right now. Because the reality is, the more money that you're able to save today, the more you could invest, the more you could build wealth, and the easier it's going to be. And really one of the easiest ways to be able to do this is to simply look through your bills and ask yourself, what am I paying for that is overpriced? Like, I'll tell you, for most people, straight up, they are overpaying for their phone bill. It is insanely expensive what these companies are charging. And one of the easiest ways that you might be able to save a ton of money just so happens to be the sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. No joke, what's crazy is that for a limited time, Mint Mobile is now offering 3, 6, or 12-month premium wireless for $15 a month. And that's any plan, by the way, even unlimited, which I gotta say is a crazy good offer, especially because Mint Mobile runs on the nation's largest 5G network with coverage reaching 98% of Americans. On top of that, it's also incredibly easy to switch. I know a lot of people think that they gotta drive to a store, meet a person, haggle with them back and forth, be sold something they don't want. Now, with Mint Mobile, it's incredibly easy. You could do it from home. Bring your own unlocked phone, keep your current phone number, and activate eSIM at home in minutes. It's really so easy that all you gotta do is choose between 6 gigabytes, 17, 23, or unlimited data. Every plan includes unlimited talk and text, and you also get an unconditional 7-day money-back guarantee. So stop overpaying for wireless because that's how it's always been. Switch to Mint Mobile and get 3, 6, or 12 months of premium wireless for $15 a month. That's any plan, even unlimited, with the link down below in the description, or you could also scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you so much. Now let's get back to the video.
But Bitcoin has none of that. No earnings, no yield, no press releases. Bitcoin needs people to talk about it to attract new buyers. And the people who used to talk about it have gone silent.
Yeah, but that's almost the same thing as a press release. I mean, people got to be talking about something. They talk about the stock. They get hyped about it. He is right that we are in an attention-driven economy, that fundamentals, I hate to say it these days, are really secondary to hype. Hype is always going to supersede anything in terms of intrinsic value. But, you know, all it takes, you just get Trump, he sends a tweet, and he could drive the price back up just as easily as it went down. I mean, things could change so fast. Now, I'm not saying bank on a tweet from Trump to save Bitcoin, because that's a terrible long term, but I'm saying in terms of an attention economy, plausible.
Posting your gains online started getting people physically robbed. There were 72 attacks worldwide in 2025. Criminals showed up at your door as a package delivery, food driver, or a fake cop, and so a chill fell upon the whole crypto community. Everyone went silent, anonymous, stopped posting. Bitcoiners adopted a new mantra: never talk about your Bitcoin. And so that 2021 guy with the laser eyes and the Lambo, gone.
The thing is, you want to buy when nobody's talking about something. When everyone's talking about it, usually that's when it's hyped, it's attention-driven, people are FOMOing into it. You want to buy something when no one is talking about it. Like for a while, no one was talking about gold, and that was the best time to buy. For a long time, no one was talking about international index funds, except for me. Now, it's a good time. It's done really well over the last year. In terms of wrench attacks, though, listen, I think it's in good manners to not boast about the Lambos and the flash status. It's always, good manners not to do that to begin with. But separately from that, I don't like holding on to physical Bitcoin in terms of like a ledger or like a, Trezor, one of those little external. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that this little device, I could screw that up so easily. I don't trust myself with it. And so that's why I prefer a Bitcoin ETF instead. Just dollar cost average into a Bitcoin ETF. It's like a stock. And no, you don't have the privacy feature. I don't care about the privacy features, all that. I just want to be a part of it. And it's also really cool because the broker is able to calculate the tax lots and like what you owe and this for tax purposes. It's a nightmare trying to calculate like a 2016 Coinbase purchase that was like moved to here, to here, to here, to here, and then like you sell it. And how do you calculate the cost base of that? Very difficult. It takes a lot of time. So that's why I prefer the ETF. It's simple.
And so who is the next marginal buyer? And that's the question I could not answer. Because attention is liquidity, and right now, all attention is focused on one thing, AI. There's absolutely zero appetite to build a Bitcoin reserve by anyone, not by any company, not by any country. And ever since AI went parabolic, no one is even thinking about building a reserve, much less buying Bitcoin with it. Let's check the price here. Bitcoin under 60K now.
What's crazy is that if we look at Bitcoin now, and the price changes so quickly, by the way, that by the time I post this video, it could be totally different. But at the time I'm posting this, the price is $66,601.32. Screenshot that, and we'll see where it's at the time I'm posting this video. But if he's selling at 59, the bottom. That's the bottom.
Early whales who still need to cash out, digital asset treasuries, all watching that one exit door like hawks, and nation states too. Every one of them are watching that one exit, hoping no one moves for it. But the liquidity they're all counting on only existed during the 2021 mania run-up, and it would take years to rebuild now that it's evaporated. And I suspect currently there may not be enough liquidity for everyone to get out.
The hard part is MicroStrategy. If something happens to MicroStrategy, and if they have to dump, and if all that comes on the market at the same time, could crash, crater the price. But here's what I've noticed. There's always something to be worried about. For a while, I thought Tether. It's this stable coin. And it's supposed to be backed 1-to-1 by $1, okay? The thinking was that, how do we know this is really backed 1-to-1? They've never gone through the full audit process. They've done a few audits here and there, but can you trust it? I don't know. Which meant that they would theoretically be able to just print Tether out of nowhere, buy Bitcoin with it, pump the price of Bitcoin, then sell Bitcoin using fake Tether. Like, the theory here is that if Tether collapsed, all of a sudden Bitcoin's volume would disappear overnight and the price would be like worthless. That was a concern for a while, and then that quietly evaporated. Bitcoin went up, everyone forgot about it, and now it's Michael Saylor. And now it's like, oh, well, this company could, crash the market by this way because they own 5% of the whole supply and this and that. And guess what? My guess is that if we come through this unscathed, it's going to be something else. It's going to be quantum computing. Oh, quantum could do this and this and this. Maybe it could. And then after quantum, it's going to be something else. So my guess, with Bitcoin, you got to be prepared. It could go to zero, and there will always be something.
And so this is your decentralized global money. 6 people with the keys to the code. 1 Reddit mod who decides what you're allowed to say about it, and a backup plan held together by a single outcast developer. Decentralized. When I step back and look at this, I didn't know what I had signed up for anymore.
Yeah, listen, it's a lot more centralized now than it was back in the day, but I think for it to get world recognition, something that people take seriously and feel comfortable with, it's got to be a little regulated. I know a lot of people don't like that. They're like, oh, this is anti-Bitcoin, this is this and that, it defeats the purpose. But like, you can't have a store of value when it's fluctuating plus or minus 50% in a year. I envision a world where one day it's going to be, fluctuating 1% in a month. And maybe that's going to be like the volatility of Bitcoin. Or it's going to be worth, again, 0. I'm riding this thing either way. I'm not selling, I'm not buying, but I think there does need to be some sort of oversight to make sure that everything is on the up and up.
What's also unsettling is there are 2 ticking time bombs for Bitcoin. The first is quantum. Now, eventually, a powerful enough quantum computer could break through the cryptography guarding Bitcoin wallets. But regardless, I was stunned there's been no cohesive plan or dev community who could put together a plan. The second clock are the miners. Everyone says Bitcoin is digital gold, but this would gloss over technical details. Miners secure the network and they have to get paid in 2 ways. either newly minted coins or your transaction fees. And the problem is, well, 95% of all Bitcoin is already minted. The fee economy that they would depend on never showed up. Satoshi never imagined wrapped Bitcoins, never imagined most coins just sitting there, not moving, not paying fees, not gaining attention. And so as the fees fade, miners switch off, security drops, the network weakens again, more miners sell off, and a slow death spiral could trigger.
The opposite to this, by the way, is that more people buy, more people don't sell, more people hold, less on the market, which means higher prices. So if anything, the more Bitcoin that gets locked away forever, people forget the keys, whatever, the less there is of it, which means the price over time is going to go up. That's the counter argument to that, of course.
The tariffs and wars have not been popular, so what if the Democrats take back power in 2028, turn hostile to crypto, and the next bull cycle might not arrive until 2032 at the earliest? That's another 6 years of waiting. So ask yourself, will the 2032 cohort be as excited to discover Bitcoin as the 2021 cohort was? And what age will you be by then? Is your time horizon really that long? Or would that have been your life passing by?
That's why you diversify. That's why you don't have to go 100% in Bitcoin. You could easily, I'm just saying, it's not a recommendation, but I'm just saying, it could be a few percent. It could be, fun money. Instead of going and blowing it at the casino, going to Disneyland, upgrading trips, throw a little extra in Bitcoin. Instead of going out to eat at like a nice restaurant, go and make some canned soup at home. Buy a little Bitcoin instead. Instead of paying for Netflix, cancel the subscription. Save the $18 a month. Buy a little Bitcoin instead. Watch a free YouTube video. Instead of going out on dates, buying drinks, this and that, stay home. Watch YouTube videos. Buy a little Bitcoin instead. Like, cutting out things that you would otherwise be wasting. Buy a little Bitcoin. Then if it goes to zero, it's like, oh, whatever. Like, I didn't lose anything that I wasn't going to spend anyway. But hey, if it goes up, great. But just, again, I want to make it clear. Speculation. Speculation. We're betting here, okay? So take that into consideration.
And so after all of that, why am I still bullish? Because the technology is real. And I think over the long term, Bitcoin gets stronger with each new generation that rediscovers it. So if you can, buy a little and stash it somewhere you won't touch. Bitcoin gets rediscovered every cycle, usually right after everyone agrees it's dead. Which, comes to think of, makes this video a pretty solid bottom signal.
So far it looks like sold the bottom. Now, here's the other thing. A lot of people that I know who are really heavy in crypto were all like, oh, it's going to go in the 40s, and then I'm going to be nibbling in the 40s, and I'll be a serious buyer in the 30s. I'm like, yeah, every time someone says that, it never hits, and then it just goes right back. So, I just DCA. That's it. I DCA with money I don't need for the next 100+ years, and if it goes to zero, fine. I budgeted for that. Take the loss, offset some other gains elsewhere, fine. It sucks, not going to be the end of the world. But I'm not going to go 100% in Bitcoin and then try to make a fortune doing this where it's all or never all or nothing. You want to diversify, globally diversified portfolio, preferably index funds, some money that you don't need in something like this, and no matter what, hitting the like button if you haven't done that already, and subscribing. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Check out TechLead down below in the description. I watch a lot of his videos, if not all of his videos. I love his sense of humor. I think he has a lot of knowledge to offer. So again, check him out too. Thank you so much. Until next time.